You feel like you're constantly running out of time, like there's just not enough hours in the week, and that leaves you working even more hours feeling like you're falling behind. I've been there, I've done that, and today I'm going to show you how to save 10 hours per week from your work schedule so that you can enjoy your life a little more. We're going to talk about productivity strategies, a couple mindset shifts, and energy optimization techniques that'll help you get 10 more hours out of your week. Because let's face it, we've got to stop the hustle and grind mentality, and we've got to start working smarter so that we can enjoy the reason we started the business to begin with. Hey there, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time, we talk about things like productivity and time and anti-hustle. That's what we talk about. And my name's Kevin. I'm the founder of NextCrest, and today I'm going to share with you some tips, hacks, and tricks that will get you 10 more hours out of your week. But first, let me paint a picture for you. You're juggling all the meetings, all the emails, the marketing, the bookkeeping, everything that goes into a business, and your personal life, and your relationships, and your health, and you feel like you're constantly busy. You're constantly on the go. And at the end of the week, you ask yourself, what did I accomplish? And you look back and you say, well, I did things I needed to do, but did I really move the needle? Did I progress? Did I grow? And most of the time the answer is no, you didn't grow at all. You just checked all the boxes that allow you to stay exactly the way you are today, last week, last year. And here's the truth, and a mild cliche, is that time is something that you don't get back. But one of the things I learned in my own life and my own business is that if I made a few key shifts that were minor, I could get 10 more hours a week so that I could do the things I want to do. I'm a big fan of compound numbers. So if you look at 10 hours a week, let's say you work 4 weeks a month, that's 40 hours a month back to your personal life or the things you want to do. That's a whole work week. Compound that over a year. And you see, we're talking significant time savings here. So I hope you watch this video. I hope you take to heart the things that I share with you, because these are things I use in my personal life and that I ask my clients use as well. Because one of the things I'm not a fan of is setting up a successful business at the expense of your time, energy, health, mental health, and relationships. We all want a successful business, but we also want to enjoy the time with our loved ones and the time that we get to take care of ourselves. So let's jump in. We're going to start with some productivity strategies. When we talk about productivity, we're not talking about doing more. Most people think that productivity is getting more done, and it's not. Productivity is doing the things that move you toward a result. They're doing the right things at the right time. That's what productivity is. So we've got to shift that to begin with, because most people, if they come to me and they say, I want to be more productive, I ask them what that means, and they say, well, I need to get more done. And I'm firm that that's not productivity. When you come to someone like me and you say, I want to be more productive, I would think that the proper response would be, well, why don't you think you're doing the right things now? And what could you be doing differently? And that's really the big step that we have to make. So the first thing is, people are going to say time block when we talk about productivity, and I agree with that. There is time block, meaning a specific amount of time you're going to do the deep work. But the next layer of that, the thing that really moves the needle, is when you task block. And task block means that you are doing similar things in the same area over that period of time. So if you allowed 3 hours this morning to do something that has to do with web development or SEO or something like that, you want to take everything that has to do with your website and SEO and probably lead generation and try to book into that time block. So you're task blocking within that time block so that you're not all over the place, because the energy, we'll talk about this later, when you stop one thing and start another thing, the energy has to shift a little bit. And if you're not fluid in that shift, it just creates unproductive moments of time. And we're down to the minute here. It's just like the game of football. They say it's down to the inches. When it comes to productivity, it's down to the minute. And what we know about time is that we will use the time that we allocate. So if you allocate 45 minutes for something, you're probably going to use at least 45 minutes to do that thing. And that task might only take 12 minutes. And so you can see where we would have some time savings. So you want to time block, yes, but you also want to task block within that time block so that your energy transitions are more fluid, it's easier to go through, and you're just staying in the same train of thought for a longer period of time, keeping the focus and doing all the things within that area that you need to do. And you've all heard of the 80-20 rule, Pareto's principle it's called, and that is that 20% of your actions produce 80% of your results. And when you understand that, you can really analyze what are the high impact tasks that I'm doing? What are the high impact things on my schedule? I need to focus on those more, because if 20% of your activities produce 80% of your results, then 80% of your activities are pointless, or they don't produce very many results at all. And so those are things you either want to delegate or delete. If they're necessary to the business, you can delegate them easier. But if they're not necessary, if they fall in that 80% of the things that we do that's producing 20% of the results, and it's not moving that needle, you can just go ahead and delete it. So the 80-20 rule is important from the standpoint of it tells us what we need to remove altogether from our schedule. And let's face it, changing the font on your website again this week is not going to move the needle. It's not. You're going to spend 4 or 5 hours doing that, and then no one's going to show up because you're not driving traffic to it, I'm betting, right? So you really want to understand that. What is the high impact activity? It would be the follow-up, the calling new clients, calling old clients. All of those things would be high impact activities that move the needle, not changing the font on your website once again. When it comes to high level productivity, one of the things that stands in our way is our mindset, the way we think about our time. We think that time is endless for the most part. We think that we get it, that every day we start over with a fresh slate. And the truth is, yes, every day you start over with more time, but you spent time yesterday, and does that impact today? If you didn't do yesterday what you said you were going to do, well, you have to now do today what you were supposed to do yesterday, and you see where that compounds and snowballs over time. So mindset is a really big factor in how productive you are. And a lot of people have this hustle and grind mentality. I preach against that. And here's why that's not accurate, because hustle is not a strategy and grind is not a strategy. In fact, if you grind your way in business, you're literally pulverizing yourself. That's what it means by definition, to reduce to a powder, I think is something like that. And so the grind mentality is just to take all your time, and the prescription for this is not working is do more. Most coaches and business gurus out there, when you're hustle and grind mentality, the only prescription they know to give you is do more. And there's already no time, and you're telling me to do more. So hustle and grind is not a strategy. It is something that will deplete you. It is something that will make you do the wrong things. It will force you to lead with emotion instead of logic or imagination. It'll force you to make decisions that you didn't want to make or that you shouldn't have made. So we've got to stop that, and we've got to develop a CEO mindset, a good CEO mindset, because I understand there's a lot of variance between the level of CEOs out in the world. But if we look at what makes a great CEO, it's their ability to make decisions, to delegate, and to maximize the time. A good CEO. Now, there are other CEOs out there that want to have a meeting about a meeting about a meeting, and that's not smart at all. So we want to understand that this CEO mindset we're adopting is from a great CEO perspective, not from an average or a mediocre CEO. And there are two components to having a CEO mindset I think are very, very important. And the first is the power of saying no. And I know what you're thinking. I've heard this before. Yes, we should say no. And let me reframe it a little bit for you, because when you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else. And when you say yes to something, you're saying no to a list of other things. And that was my metric when I started the power of no. If I was going to say yes to something, I would write down a list of everything that was going to get a no if I said yes. And then I would make my decision. And almost 100% of the time, the no list won. It won out. It beat out. I looked at that list and I said, that's not worth the yes at all. The ROI on the yes is not worth saying no to all this stuff. So I came up with this phrase that I use anytime someone asks me to do something, say a lunch meeting, or let me pick your brain for a little bit or whatever. My canned response to anyone that asks me of my time outside of my wife is no, but convince me. And what I'm doing there is I'm letting them know that my answer is no, but give me a valid reason, meaning I hope you've thought about this long enough to say, here's why I need Kevin to be at this meeting. And if you can convince me, I might change my no to a yes, but most of the time I don't, because I found that the other person hasn't thought about it in that way. So use that for you. When you talk about the power of saying no, say no, but convince me. And if they can't convince you, the answer is still no, and they already knew that going in. It's just an easier way to go. And the second thing that's really important in a CEO mindset is we view progress as the metric, not perfection. It's just like a good writer. If you talk to writers who write books, they write the first draft of the book, and it's not perfect, but it's done. It's down on paper. It's on the file now. Now we have something to edit, because if you don't have progress, you have nothing to edit. You have nothing to base it off of. And most people are out there seeking perfection and never finishing that first draft, so they don't even know what the book's about. They don't know what they're trying to achieve. They don't know the metrics or the measures they could take in there. So progress over perfection is a CEO mindset. When it comes to our time, you're looking at what is the perfect week. There is no perfect week, because as soon as you put a perfect week in your Google Calendar, guess what happens? An emergency comes up and it throws the whole day off, and now you don't know what to do. That's not perfection, but progress is something that we can make. If you had 4 key objectives that you needed to accomplish before you stop working today, even when the day goes sideways, you're still going to look at those 4 and say, I need to make progress in these 4 areas, those high impact tasks. And so looking at your schedule and saying, I need to identify the points of progress and omit altogether the idea of perfection. Perfection is a thief of time. All right, finally, let's talk about energy. I say this all the time. If you've seen any of my short form videos, you know I say this all the time. You can have the best strategy in the world. Without the correct energy, that strategy is worth 0. It's just true. So energy is very important when it comes to owning your time and claiming 10 more hours a week. It really is about you claiming the energy required to move the needle, to progress and create the metrics. So the first thing you want to do is look at your schedule and identify when is your energy the highest. For me, I am most creative first thing in the morning, and so that's when I'm really putting out my social media, I'm developing my courses, I'm taking notes, I'm coming up with the ideas. Like, that's when my energy is the highest. From there I go into meditation and yoga, and when I come out of that, my energy is not low, but it's not high energy. Meaning if I come out of meditation and yoga and I try to do this, my energy is not at its peak. I'm kind of more relaxed. That's where I'm doing my things like accounting, I'm doing my things like copy, and I'm really making decisions for partners that I have in business, because that's a different mindset. So you want to understand the peaks and valleys of your energy so that you can schedule things during those times that bring that energy you need. I know that when I'm creating content, I need a higher energy, I need creative thoughts, I need to not be bogged down or not be thinking about something else. So I do that first thing in the morning, and then after I do yoga and meditate quite a bit, I say, okay, that's a great time for me to have the meeting with my business partners. That's a great time for me to have, the meeting with my accountant or bookkeeping, and because I'm at a calmer energy, that I can make calm decisions, not frantic decisions. And I find that serves. So you got to know your peaks and valleys of energy through your week. And in that, you want to eliminate altogether anything that drains your energy. Let's say you've got an employee or a friend or someone who's just sucking the energy out of you. You want to stop that immediately, omit it, say, hey, I can't talk to you on Monday through Friday. I'm going to talk to you on Saturday when I don't have to worry about it. That's a strategy you could use if you care about them. But that's something that I think happens all the time, is we donate time to people who are going to suck the energy out of our week. And that's why we need to spend more hours working than we do, because I have a 30-minute conversation with someone, they suck the energy out of me, it takes me 30 or 45 more minutes just to get back to zero and reset so that I can be more productive. So I'm going to omit that conversation altogether, or the chance of that conversation altogether, so I'm not battling that. Because that 30-minute conversation actually took me an hour and a half to facilitate and overcome, to move on. And that's not what I want. And the most important part when you talk about energy is take a lot of breaks, not hour-long breaks or half-hour breaks, 5-minute breaks throughout your day. I take about 4 a day, 4 5-minute breaks. I'll go walk barefoot in the garden. I'll go outside. I'll do a quick meditation. I'll play guitar. I'll do a lot of different things that kind of just take my mind off things, kind of hit that energy reset, get me thinking in a new way. And that is vital. You don't need to take so many breaks that you're not being productive, but 3 or 4 5-minute breaks per day is something that I would recommend exploring, and then decide what you're going to do on those breaks that reset your energy. You got to be intentional about it. If you can't be intentional about it, then it's never going to work. Those are the theories behind this actual action. Now, how do we get those 10 hours? How do we get that 10 hours? We're going to assume you work 5 days a week and about 8 hours a day, and we're looking to save about 2 hours. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the time we're allocating to do these tasks. And I'm willing to bet that you're allocating too much time to do simple things like check your email. And you're checking your email multiple times a day, probably 6 or 7 times a day instead of twice a day. So what I want you to do in that case is say, okay, I'm going to spend 12 minutes in the morning and 12 minutes in the afternoon checking my email. Now, if you have an assistant, delegate it all, but you still have to check it. They're going to go through and scrub it and put what's important. 12 minutes checking the important things. That's how we work. So you're going to spend 24 minutes per day only checking email. That's it. No more time. And for so many of us, we schedule that in half-hour blocks, meaning we schedule an hour a day to check our email, if not more. And then throughout the day, we'll check it again. So that 1 hour for just email normally becomes 2.5 hours. So a lot of times in tasks like that, we can find the 2 hours we're looking for per day. And what you'll notice is nobody is missing you. Nobody's missing you, because every email that is sent to you is a request of your time. And so every time you check your email, you're donating your time. Now, I get it. There are contracts, there are concerns, there are things that come through email that are very important. That's why you check it twice a day. And that's why you have people that scrub it for you so that you're only checking what's important. But 12 minutes per session. 12 minutes in the morning, 12 minutes in the afternoon. That's it. Now, you might need to spend a little more time depending on the scenario. If there's a legal case or a contract or something like that, that would be an exception to the rule. That would fall into sales, not checking your email. But that initial checking email, 24 minutes a day, that's all you're going to get. You're probably going to save at least 30 minutes there. We're going to go back to that no but convince me. Say no to almost everything. That every time someone says come to our lunch meeting or anything like that, say no almost to everything. That will save you probably at least an hour a day. It really will, because how many times do people say, can you come to the meeting? The response should be no but convince me. Well, we need you there to present this. Okay, I might do that. But most people won't be able to tell you why you need to be at a meeting. And most of the time they need you in the meeting for their selfish reasons, for their ego, to say that you were there and not because you're actually contributing to the message. So the canned response for everything that you're asked to do is no, but convince me. And lastly, I want you to set boundaries. You start work at this time, you stop work at this time. That is it. That is how you structure your day. You take an hour for lunch, whatever you want to do, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, doesn't matter to me. But really, the start and stop days are hard starts and hard stops. That means you've got to be done by the time you say you're going to be done, despite what happens in your day. So when we're searching for these 2 hours in our 2 hours per day to save, start with those tasks that you do the most often. Which task am I doing the most throughout my day? Do I need to do it that much? Like email. I bet you're checking email 6, 7 times a day. We're now going to check it twice. We're going to save at least a half hour there. We're now going to say no to the meeting requests that come our way unless it's absolutely necessary that we're in that meeting. If you're calling a meeting, make it absolutely necessary that the people show up. Don't just invite people for no reason. And what we're looking at there is we're probably saving between an hour and a half and 2 hours just in those two things. That's our 10 hours per week. That's our 40 hours per month. That's our 480 hours per year. And the best part about all this, these aren't just tips. These aren't just tips. They're not just out there for you to say, oh, that was really nice of him to give us that. These are systems. Me saying no but convince me is not a tip, it's not a habit, it's a system. It's a gatekeeper. It allows me to stay focused on what I'm here to do. And what I'm here to do is to sell my courses, sell my coaching, sell my programs. That's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to have a lunch meeting with someone who's not a part of that. I'm not. So we have to look at these tips, tricks, and hacks as something different. These are systems. And when you consider them systems, you can uphold them a lot easier. All right, there you go. We talked about a lot today. And if you're interested in more of this, I want you to go to my website and I want you to sign up for our free mini course. It's called The Hustle Detox. And what we're going to do in the Hustle Detox is identify those things that waste your time throughout your day. We're going to shift your schedule and create an ideal week for you so that it's hustle free and based on your level of productivity. And if you thought this video was helpful, consider subscribing to my channel, click the bell for notifications, and give me a like on this video. Tell me what you'd like to hear about next. I live by these standards. I do these standards. I haven't worked a full work week, meaning 40 hours, in the last 6 years, and I'm very proud of that, and I make more money than I did when I had my corporate job working 70 hours a week. So those are all the benefits of tips and tricks like this that actually become systems so that you can claim your time, own your time, and develop your time to actually get the results you're looking for. Hey, thanks for joining. My name's Kevin. I'm the founder of NextCrest. I've got one question for you as we leave. What are you going to implement first? I'll see you next time.